Welcome to the 2026 Rolex 24 Hours. We are live from Daytona International Circuit, and this is going to be fantastic. Are you ready? Because this is our third year covering the event here on JB Motorsports. Good afternoon, good evening, good morning, wherever you are listening around the world. Welcome. Right, here we go again then. We had the Raw before the 24 here at the Speedway last weekend, and just a couple of days later, it's all set. Practice 1, qualifying, and Practice 2 are on your way this evening. Tomorrow, Practice 3 and Practice 4. Then we'll have the big race on Saturday and Sunday. Let's hand over to our trackside commentary team down at IMSA Radio.
The WeatherTech Sports Car Championship on IMSA Radio.
So let's do the introductions for this first 90-minute session, which is just a few moments away. Alongside me in the Ford Racing Global Broadcast Centre. And by the way, good morning to you here at the track as well. And thanks to Mike Trim and the rest of his team. I can hear that we are on the PA system as well. Central, I'm on the far left, geographically at least. The centre is represented by Peter Mackay. Welcome back, Peter.
I'm a centrist, really.
Are you?
Yes, geographically. Delighted to be here, privileged to be here. I think for the 5th year in a row now. At the Rolex 24. It's one of the world's great sporting events where the great and good of motorsport converge and arrive at the start of the year. Obviously, it's not the time of year where you have the Formula One World Championships not running, etc. So all of motorsport's eyes globally head to Daytona at the end of January every year, and what a special occasion it is. So, we've got a star-studded field as we always do. We can only ever fit 61 cars in the entry. We've got 60 because Team Thomas unfortunately had to pull out at the last minute, but we've got 60 cars. We can never have any more than that, but it's the quality that goes up every single year. The depth in this field is like nothing we've seen before.
On the far right, again, geographically, not necessarily politically, we welcome back Bruce Jones, has been a voice involved in this broadcast before, Bruce, but first time you've been physically on the grounds for a wee while.
It is. I mean, just touching on what Peter Mackay was saying there, we've got a similar number of cars as when I was last year in 2019, but the calibre of the cars, the teams, the drivers, every year it ekes up, and it's a fantastic place for many people to start their racing season. I know last weekend, John, you were at the 24 Hours of Dubai, but there is something special. But every year there's a stirring of the pot, and yes, the amalgamation with the World Endurance Championship, the sort of the melding of those. It's great, but you see different people in different combinations, which for someone who's a motor racing purist, I absolutely love that. And we look from a distance as to what the weather might be as we headed towards this event. And I must say, in the last few days, the needle has swung towards, yes, we'll have some of that, please. The weather looks really fine. And this morning, in fact, we're rather dazzled up in the commentary box, looking high out over the circuit. And it is an astonishing view. How many circuits can you see? Almost entirety of it.
Absolutely quality. For those of you here at the circuit, you are enjoying 66 on the track and 64 Fahrenheit in the air. That translates to 19 Celsius and 18 Celsius. We've gone to green. Let's go down to the pit lane as the cars stream out for this 90-minute practice and pick up our first pit report of 2026. And appropriately enough, it's one of our full-time voices, Arjuna Kankapati, who has Dries van Tur. Good morning.
Dries, a lot of changes, obviously, in the off-season, but for you, lots of pole positions in 2025. How did you reflect on how the last year went in the off-season?
Yeah, obviously, it was great to have my first full season last year in IMSA. Obviously, the poles were a nice bonus. Unfortunately, we couldn't really reflect a lot of them on race wins, which hopefully we will do different this year. But I enjoyed it a lot. I also enjoyed the off-season a bit, spent some time at home. And yeah, ready to go all out again for this year.
Two major changes, of course, that are obvious to us. The change from Team RLL to Team WRT. What's that process been like for them coming over to the Rolex? They've raced here a couple of times, but how much has your experience and the rest of the teams been able to help them?
Yeah, obviously a lot. I think also RLL still gave a lot of support and a lot of help in all the exchange. But yeah, now that WT is here as well, I've been with them for 10 years now, so it's a very relaxing feeling coming to the racetrack now in WEC and in IMSA. But that partnership together with WEC and IMSA hopefully can push us forward even more and evolve our car quicker.
Obviously, the car's gone through a bit of a slimming down in the off-season as well. How are you feeling these changes in the BMW M Hybrid V8?
Yeah, good. I mean, obviously, it's positive that our update is working how we thought it would be. I think now we just have to put all the things together to use it as its best. It's one thing to have the update, but now we have to try and figure out how we can use it to its best, which will probably take a bit of time, but I think that's part of it.
Thanks, Reese.
Thank you.
Little bit of drama there after the pit lane lights went green for Scott Noble and for the AMG number 48, which of course is the Winward car. A little bit of a stall on the just going out of the pit lane, but he's got that going now. That's the blue and multicoloured car. It's not been the best start of the season for Winward. They were both at Abu Dhabi and at the Dubai 24 and got no kind of result that they wanted or expected. Withdrew both of the cars partway through in Malaysia as well, if memory serves. We're keeping an eye on a debutant car, the Aston Martin from the heart of racing. Roman DeAngelis bringing that car into the pit lane, and we'll see quite a few cars coming back through the pit lane. The Valkyrie, of course, didn't race here last year. They joined in later in the championship. 21 cars setting up pit equipment when not allowed to do so. They're going to get a drive-through. Oh, actually, no, 21 cars plus the cars that I've got. So it's going to be pretty much the whole field go through there. We'll let them cycle through, and here they come now as we bring in a brand new voice to the Radio Show Limited network of channels and to IMSA Radio, someone that we've known for a long time and whose work we've admired for a long time. If you are au fait with British Superbikes, you'll recognise the next voice because he's been doing some absolutely stalwart work on that in the last few seasons. Welcome to Daytona, Duncan Vincent.
Thank you very much, John. This is a little bit of a pinch me moment down here in the pit lane for myself. It's also reacquainting myself with friends from WEC in the past and various other paddocks, but drive-throughs, a lot of installation laps. But John, this is such a place. When you look across from pit wall, across to where you guys are, the view is something. It's like I say, it's a pinch me moment. I've got the hairs in the back of my arms and my neck standing up. And I can't wait to get started, John. Thank you.
Great to have you here. We've got another couple of voices to introduce to you in the second half of this session. One that you will have heard of on our airwaves before. One who both Bruce and I have worked with on other productions in the past. If you were listening to Midweek Motorsport on Wednesday, which we did live from this facility and the Ford Racing Global Broadcast Centre on Wednesday afternoon, then you will have seen the announcement, but I'm going to leave you who haven't just in suspense just a little bit more. Ryan Marine will be joining us shortly. He's been here already since, I think he never went home at the end of last season, actually. He was cheering on his beloved Indiana Hoosiers on Monday night, so he's a little bit gravelly, a little bit smelly cat, as we called it the other day. If you're a Friends fan, you'll understand that reference. Ryan will be with us in a moment. He saw every moment, or halfway through the session rather, he saw every moment of the Raw before the Rolex 24, and so we'll generate a bit of chat about who did what and when. But again, if you want to catch up, you can still listen over on radiolemans.com to Wednesday's programme, which apart from about the first 20 minutes was a sports car spectacular with John DeGeese, sports car 365, in the booth with us for a special sports car double stint Sportscar 365 double stint catch-up. Turner Motorsport running the confusing livery. See it from the right-hand side, it's the blue and yellow, number 96. See it from the left-hand side, it is the Liqui Moly, but it is still the 96. But just running the one car, Peter, this weekend, and bringing elements of what would have been normally both their entries into that one BMW M4 GT3.
Yeah, the yellow and blue colours are the Turner classic paint scheme that they've had for a very long time, since they very first started racing basically showroom stock BMWs in their early days. And Will Turner, the team owner, he got the inspiration for the colour scheme from the Renault Lagunas, the Williams Renault Lagunas in the British Touring Car Championship of the mid to late 1990s. And the Liqui Moly partnership is one that they've had for a very long time as well. So matching those two together looks really, really cool. Reminds me of the old BAR F1 cars.
Yeah,
they had one on one side. They were sponsored by the same parent tobacco company, and they had two of their brands, one on each side.
Yeah, that zip right down the middle was such
Genius.
a clever feature. Alas, it didn't help too much in that opening season.
No, indeed not. Let's go back down to the pit lane, and Nick Yellerly is with Arjuna.
2025 was Meyershank Racing linking up a bit closer with Honda and bringing some of the engineering stuff into the program. But Nick, I know the Roar wasn't the easiest of a couple of days for the team. How are you feeling as we get ready to go today?
Yeah, I mean, still very optimistic. We had a bit of not a rough Roar, but a few little niggling issues, all sorted now, and we'll be good to go.
What were those issues? Can you elaborate a bit for us? How much time did they rob from you in this session?
I mean, I don't want to go too much into detail, to be honest. But, yeah, all fixed now, like I say. We had a small fire on the rear left just due to a brake issue. And that was really the only issue, so quite an easy fix.
You got Kaku Ota, you got Alex Palou. It's a bit of a star-studded lineup that Meyershank Racing have brought. How confident are you that you'll be able to deliver?
Yeah, I think we should be where we're supposed to be, which at the front. Obviously, we've got all good drivers there. We worked together already last year. So there's no reason why we can't go and deliver that result.
Thanks, Nick.
Thank you.
So everything underway then, and here in these early sessions, the opportunity to make sure that what you learned last weekend is still relevant, because this track is a living, breathing thing. And what I would say as well, we replaced a couple of seasons ago, of course, we had qualifying, Peter, during the Raw, and then it was all race setup. We're back to qualifying later today, so there isn't that much time for the teams to get themselves dialed in, make sure that all the nuts are tightened up correctly, and then go for a lap time later on today. We'll have that live for you in sound and vision, whether you're here in the States or further afield.
Can't wait for that. Yeah, last year it was a little bit of particularly in GTP, it was a truncated qualifying session where we had a red flag in the middle, and Dries Vanthoor had to switch the tyre on quickly, and he did so and got his first of 4 pole positions in a row in his debut IMSA season. Quite remarkable, really. So yeah, that qualifying is going to be important, because looking at the lap times right now, Jack Aitken in the Whelen Engineering Cadillac, the red number 31, that finished the season so strongly with a win at Indy and a win at Petit Le Mans, where they just executed flawlessly all week long. Jack Aitken quickest at the moment with a 1:36.4. Now that is within a second of the race lap record already, and we're in the first practice of race week. Of course, we've had the Roar test, but generally speaking, that's pretty quick for early on in practice.
Yeah, he was the first of the GTP runners this morning just to get out and get going, and he did a 1 minute 37.1, 1 minute 36.4, as you said, so looking good and consistent. But of course, you always get this not really a hiatus, but it's just those in-laps people keep having right at the start of a session. Now we're starting to go, but this element about qualifying starting just after 2 o'clock this afternoon, I think it's far better having it in the actual weekend, the meeting of the Rolex 24 Hours of Daytona. And certainly today it will build to that crescendo. But this session, 90 minutes, and that's already starting to rattle through, Peter.
Peter, if you want to get in touch with us, as always, we are watching here in the Ford Racing Global Broadcast Centre. We're on X. That's the easiest way to do it, and that would be at IMSA Radio. It doesn't get any simpler than that. RS2 around the world, 107.5 FM around the circuits. And back to Duncan Vincent, who's picking up some more of the atmosphere down in pit lane. Where are you, Duncan?
I'm in the United Autosports number 2 camp just now, John, watching the cars go past. Ben Hanley joins us. Ben, first of all, what we have to say is the temperature is a lot warmer than it has been. Is that going to affect how you guys set the car up for qualifying?
Not so much qualifying. You know, we had a really good Raw, and we had one session where it was a little bit warmer, so we tried to do most of our work in that session. And yeah, predicting that it was going to be warmer this week, and the temperature just gradually increasing until we get to Sunday. So it is going to change a little bit how we feel the car and where we go from here. So important sessions today, and see if we can put it in an even better window than what we had for the test, where the United guys did a great job giving us a decent balanced car for the Raw. So keep our heads down and keep working.
And what's it like being at Daytona at the start of the year? I mean, this is the world's watching this race because there's no other motor racing happening. It must be so good as a driver for you to be here at the sharp end.
Yeah, I mean, I've done this race quite a few times now, and I always really enjoy it. It's a great way to start the year with some good seat time in the race. Hopefully, we've got a strong crew this year, and we need to keep our heads down, keep it clean through the race, and see what we've got. At the moment, we're pretty happy, so we're looking forward to it.
I'm not going to sing, okay, but I would like to say happy birthday. Is that okay?
Yeah, I mean, it happens every year on the same date, so luckily I always get to be in a car around my birthday driving around this place, so it's not a bad way to spend your birthday.
I just realised I've left your present in the media centre, so I will bring it back to you, okay?
Yeah, no worries, I'll keep you to that. Just let me know and just drop it down at the next session.
Thanks very much, buddy.
Well, Duncan settled right in, hasn't he? Straight away, as we expected he would. That's Duncan Vincent. If you are just joining us, I'd like to know where you're listening. Around the US, around the world. Blur Fiend is on site. Blur, race flags are up. Drove up yesterday. Thank you for your interaction on @IMSA Radio. It's always a bit of a funny one, this, in these early sessions, because quite obviously there's not very many people at all in the grandstands, but there's a few hardy pit souls sitting in the sunshine just in front of us. But the infield is absolutely packed, and I'm delighted to see that the Rat 356 just on the dog leg, and the rest of the team there with the 18 bus down there. That is an absolute staple of being here. So we rode round on the golf cart this morning, just behind them, and I don't know these guys. I'm going to have to stop the next time I go through. I said good morning to a whole load of people who have got a Christmas tree up there, fully decorated. It's beyond 12th night and Candlemas now, so maybe that's bad luck. I don't know how you guys feel about that over here. But literally on Tuesday, when I came through to pick up the documentation, there were already people setting up their RVs. This is going to be a huge, huge crowd here this weekend. It was actually very funny, Bruce, on Tuesday, because as I drove through the infield to go and get some lunch, I realised there was something missing in it, and I just couldn't work it out. And it was only as I drove out I realised that the big wheel wasn't up yet. And it's like, do you know when you always expect something to be there and it's not, but you can't quite put your hand on it?
Yeah, and your peripheral vision, what is missing? And you just cannot guess. Just saying, I've just really been enjoying these opening few laps. Of course, there's lots of mileage, Peter, as well, during the Raw and stuff. It's just looking at new faces, and coming here, I was thinking, I want to see the young guns who are coming in, and in fact, we've got a real crop. And for quite a while, until about 2 or 3 minutes ago, young Kylan Frederick from single-seaters, he's been racing in Japan in former Super Lights, was running second fastest. He was 7/10 of a second down on what was the lead car, Jack Aitken's Cadillac, top now by Tom Blomqvist's Acura. Now, he's a driver that goes remarkably well with the Daytona 24 Hours. But again, new to prototypes, new to racing at a circuit like this, so you have to go. You take your pleasure when you can, but obviously teams are working. The big guns are not really firing for quick times, not in the first 15 minutes, but we're now getting to the sweeter times coming in. 1:36.3, new fastest time for Tom Blomqvist. That's the number 60 Acura.
Well, that's a good point. Let's do some times as they now are getting up to pace. Jack Aitken, I think, is about to go even. I know he's just pitted. So it is the Acura number 60 from Acura Meyer Shank Racing that leads by 1/10 of a second from Jack Aiken for Cadillac Wheeler, the 31 car, back with us again this year. Lauren Heinrich impressed so much at the end of the WEC series last year in the 1812 kilometres at in the Bahrain 8 hours. Now here with the drive for Porsche Penske Motorsport, he's in third, just underlining that a good GT driver can take on a prototype as well. Then Renger van der Zande for Acura Meyershank Racing. Jordan Taylor for Cadillac number 40, that is the Wayne Taylor racing car, making up the top 6. Kaelin Frederick for JDC Miller Motorsport. We'll talk about this in a moment because I've got a couple of interviews I want to go to in the pit lane. A different specification for the JDC Miller 963 from that has been run by the Porsche Penske Motorsport team in their only outings in IMSA, in World Racing is here in IMSA, of course, having wrapped up the WEC programme. In LMP2, it's into Europol, of course it is, from Pratt & Miller, from Groundstrike, from 2 Uniteds and a TDS. How's that for a rundown of teams? And in GT Daytona, not unusually for this time of the week, Aston Martin and Van der Steur Racing have a GTD car ahead of the GTD Pros, and that's the Triazi competition Ferrari 296 GT3 Evo. We'll go to Duncan Vincent in a second, but the first person who called in a moment or two ago was Arjuna Kankaparty. Who have you got, Arjuna?
I've got Mike Rockenfeller down here at Ford Racing. Obviously, a slightly different program this year. Only a partial campaign in IMSA, but Mike, a lot of excitement about Ford Racing, and we'll talk about the future. Let's talk about the present. Updates to this Ford Mustang GT3 Evo.
Yeah, I mean, if you look at the car, the obvious ones are obviously the dive planes on the front, and then also we improved the braking, I would say, a little bit on the kinematics, some updates there. It's not really the track, Daytona, where we benefit from it the most. We clearly hope to be stronger on other tracks like Laguna Seca, Sebring, where you get more of an advantage of it. But yeah, it's looking cool. I like the new look of the car. Also of our outfits, you can clearly see us in the paddocks. So I know a lot of guys make fun about it, but we are very proud to wear this color.
It's Ford Blue, that's what I'm going to call it from now on. And talking about the future, you'll be racing a bit across the pond in Europe, but all in preparation to jump into the Ford GTP program. How's that been coming together? Can you tell us a little bit about what you've been doing behind the scenes?
Well, it's still early days, but for sure we are working flat out in the background. We did already an LMP2 test because we want to get the team ready to build it up and to get race ready for 27. Some simulator work has been done, of course, and yeah, it's actually a non-stop progress. A lot of work, and we know that the competition is extremely high, so for sure we are not underestimating and trying to do our homework. And later in the year we will do on-track testing, and I'm sure we will make sure people know about it, but yeah, right now it's a lot of work in the background.
McLaren sits proudly in the pit lane just now, and I've got McLaren factory driver Dean McDonald, who's also a countryman of mine. First of all, two Scots feeling rather warm in the pit lane at Daytona, but let's look back a week. How was the roar for the McLaren? It seemed quite strong on the outside looking in.
Yeah, obviously they have the run plan that they wanted to get through, so it's just about ticking some boxes for us, getting used to the car. You know, there's some guys here that haven't drove the car so much, like Nikita, his first time in GT, but, you know, it went well for us. We're quite happy, you know, feeling quite confident going into this weekend.
You look around this team and you just notice the experience that is in here. I mean, that must give you some confidence as a driver coming into the first round of the IMSA.
Oh, for sure. The guys and girls that we have here working behind the scenes and in the pit lane, you know, it's unbelievable what they bring to the team, and even just to us as a driver, you know, like when we get in the car, it's very relaxed. So I think that goes a long way for us in terms of performance as well.
When do we see yourself getting behind the wheel of the number 59 car?
When? What, do you mean in practice? Yeah. Today? Yeah, I'll be doing qualifying, so I'm looking forward to that, and then I'll be jumping at the end of this session as well.
Do you give the other guys a little bit of advice on how the car maybe could be utilised in better areas of the track, using your McLaren knowledge?
Yeah, of course we all speak about it, and then
I'm the one that's got the most experience in the McLaren, so I think that's kind of leaned on a little bit. But yeah, we all work quite well together, it feels like. So everyone's got their input, and we just try and move forward every session.
I can't wait to see you behind the wheel. It's a bit of a joy to be and see you here, because I know how busy your year is going to be with, I think you mentioned 25 racing weekends across the year.
Yeah, it's going to be busy with GT World Challenge, GT Open, and then I think I need to attend some of the British GT as well. So it's going to be busy, but it's going to be cool as well.
Dean, thank you very much. Great to see you here. The WeatherTech IMSA McLaren driver for Rahal, Letterman, Lanigan. Can't wait to see this car. It's going to be so interesting to see McLaren back in the WeatherTech Championship.
It's a very good point you make there, Duncan. Thank you, Arjuna. Thank you, Duncan. We haven't seen that. There's been a little bit of a hiatus, a layoff for that car. The question for me, Bruce, is how much has everybody else moved on? We've got some evils, of course, for the Ford Mustang, which seem to have worked. The new Porsche is out there as well. So things never stand still in motor racing, but it seems the pace of change in what ostensibly looks like a street car category, which of course it isn't, in GTD and GTD Pro. It seems the pace of change is moving very quickly.
No, it really does. I mean, this is one of the reasons I always love various forms of motorsport, but particularly sports car and GT racing, because it doesn't visually have great jumps forward. But again, you'll suddenly find one new car with a slight Evo package works really well in certain temperatures and not so well in others. And, thank goodness, because you like that variety and the teams get their heads around it. But, I said just at the start of the broadcast, it's fantastic. Back here after 7 years and just looking it up, obviously been watching from afar, commentating from studio in London on previous 24 hours, but it's just the standard, just the shortest of walk through past the pit garage this morning on the way into Apex for breakfast, and very good breakfast too, may I say. No, it's that constant, and some of the jumps are so small, but you stand back, you look at lap times and go, okay, weather dependent perhaps, but it's just the whole standard. We see it with GT3 as a secondary category in the World Endurance Championship too. Those standards keep on rising. So yeah, we're here as the beneficiaries.
The sternum rattling rumble of an AMG there as Maro Engel recently arrived from Dubai and the Michelin Dubai 24 hours in the number 75 AMG. Phil Ellis is driving a similar car for Winward Racing. Got to talk about that Kenny Habul team, Peter. In the Raw, the top three drivers in the category were from that car. Well, how about this? It was Kenny Habul who was the quickest of the three drivers that went out in the Raw. Obviously, Maro wasn't there because he was bothering me in the pit lane and having a chat with me in the pit lane at Dubai. Kenny doesn't do things by halves. We talked on Midweek Motorsport with Ryan about how fit he is, how seriously he takes his motorsport. That car has got to be a car that is in the conversation at 1 o'clock on Sunday, surely.
Definitely. They've got a great driver lineup. And on Kenny, I mean, he's a double Bathurst 12-hour winner, not in class, overall.
Yeah.
Against full professionals. Now, he's an incredibly successful businessman.
With the same car. Exactly the
Everything's
same car.
the same,
He took it out of the display in his house to bring it back and race it again.
Yeah, so, he runs a very successful business, Sunny Energy One, and to be able to then race against guys that do it all the time and do it for a living is really impressive. So, yeah, they're looking good, but they've brought Chaz Mostert into the team for this year's event, who, of course, has won in the past in the GTLM class for BMW back in 2020. So Chaz has got some good sports car experience amongst his, of course, well-known pedigree in supercars, where he is, of course, the reigning champion.
Yeah, but I think you can't sort of overestimate that ability for Kenny Habul to get back in and get with the program. His mind is probably full of everything he's doing with Sun Energy One, but he comes in and he's scored great results right across the world. And I'll tell you later a really funny quote he told me. It won't be something you can produce on air, but he's a real character. But, there's more than being a character. He's obviously got great talent behind the wheel, but that element about being the gentleman, the man that that creates the team. But, when your teammates have got you think, what has Maro Engel not done for Mercedes-AMG across the past decade. And, you know, he won't match his times, but the important thing is to get in there as close as he can. And clearly Kenny, you talk to him for 2 seconds, you know he's a man of massive determination. He gets in. And, you know, he makes it work. Many people try that. They come with the money, they come with the ambition, they get good teammates, but they're the ones that are the weak link. Not so with Kenny.
At IMSA Radio, if you want to get in touch, in a soggy and cold Sheffield, where it's 3:30 in the afternoon in the UK. Arnage Rob is listening in. Hope we're bringing a little bit of Florida sunshine to you, Rob. And David Lawrence, listening from the office in Albany in Georgia. Sorry. Looking forward to the weekend. Are you coming down, David, or will you be watching and listening from the comfort of your own home? Let us know at IMSA Radio. Trying to pick up out on the circuit the Valkyrie. Roma De Angelis has turned some laps in that this morning. It's in the pits at the moment, the number 23. They had an engine issue during the Raw, which meant that car did no nighttime running. The Cosworth engine had to be replaced. So we have yet to hear that screaming V12 on the... it does change in the dark. I maintain that the car sounds change in the dark, and somebody explained to me in very scientific and technical terms about air density and how sound travels. He just said, I turned off when he just said, yes, they do sound different. I can't remember what the rest of the
You knew what you needed to know.
Yeah.
And here at Daytona, it echoes off the walls as well on the high banks, which is really cool. Now, we're already underneath the race lap record. Kevin Estra has just put in a blitzing lap time, 1:35.520. That's 6/10 clear of the Acura number 93 of Renger van der Zande. So Estra really on it. I think he's done a kind of qualifying sim there, basically, because that would be a very strong, very strong lap time indeed with race fuel in. So he's Kevin, of course, here for a full season in IMSA, his first full season program in IMSA. He's never won a race in IMSA. You think all the things he's won, Le Mans, World Championships, etc., but never a race in IMSA, so why not the Rolex 24?
Some new numbers for us to get used to this weekend. Just on our race controls right next to it, and 343, and I'm thinking 343? Hang on. That is the Inter-Europol Orica. Nolan Siegel in that car is going to have to come in for a stop plus 60 at the end of the pit lane in the penalty box. They have had a mechanical black flag and not served that, not come in to clear that away, and not serving penalty within 4 start-finish crossings. I actually thought mechanical black flag, you had to come in the next available time past the line. I'll have to dig out my RAC blue book.
I'm not going to go into the rules because that normally ends in tears with me, but just to point out that Nolan is sitting on top of the P2 time chart at the moment. So, you know, sitting in a good position, but clearly having so much fun. I didn't get the signal from base, but Nolan, a driver very much on. This has been a fantastic shot window for him, the 24 hours at Daytona.
Arjuna has been down to the Heart of Racing Valkyrie. What news?
Didn't cover off for a little bit, John, but the word on pit lane is actually they were doing a couple of changes, including front nose changes as well, and so just taking this time and fully evaluating their setup. And obviously, John, that's one thing that maybe you and the team in the booth can talk about, the fact that in this GTP specification, only one end of the car can have aerodynamic movable objects, and so maybe this is something that the Aston Martin team are fine-tuning as they get ready for their first Rolex 24 with this Valkyrie.
We'll do that in a wee moment, actually, after we've heard from Earl Bamber with Duncan.
Yeah, a wee moment, exactly. A wee moment with Earl Bamber is always good. We're standing in the sunshine at the back of the pit box here. The car's in just now, Earl. Is everything going to plan? Just a standard pit stop, as you would imagine?
Yeah, just a standard pit stop, just running through a few different setup items at the moment. So obviously it's race week and it's starting to get serious. Last practice before quali, so we've got Jack in, going through a few stuff, and then I'll jump in. Fred's about to jump in, and then myself. So just cycling through the drivers and Connor will show up later on after his NASCAR stuff.
With the iconic wheeling, distinctive red number 31, it almost wouldn't be a WeatherTech IMSA race if we didn't see that. But what are the upgrades like that you've got for the Cadillac? Does it feel a lot better than you had last year?
Yeah, I mean, everyone put a lot of work in from Cadillac Racing. The new body kit is focused on drivability and traffic, so that's sort of helping us. We'll see the benefits of that in the race, and then we've got different brake compound, which is really aligning a lot closer to the road car stuff. So we've got Brembo now all around, which is very close to what we run in the V Series. So it's just getting that whole track to car thing more similar. So we're really looking forward to getting out in full race trim and seeing what it can do.
Thank you very much. We just saw Naveen Rao having a spin. They were watching that on the television screen he's got going. But the very best of luck, and thanks for your time.
Thanks.
El Bamber going for the slam of 24-hour races here. Of course, he did have a chance to do it last year.
The Tandy Slam.
The Tandy Slam. It could have been the Bamber Slam. But unfortunately, the number 31 Cadillac crew that El Bamber was driving with, unfortunately, that car was taken out early on in the race. But there's a chance for El Bamber to match that incredible achievement of winning the Nürburgring, the Spa, the Le Mans, and the Daytona 24 Hours overall.
It'll always be the Bedfordshire Bullet who did it first, though.
Exactly,
which is why it'll be called the Tandy Slam. Picking up on what Arjuna said about the Valkyrie, the regulations state that you can have one movable tunable aerodynamic device, not yet allowed to have that moving whilst the car is out on the track. Conventional wisdom would say, Bruce, that's some part of the rear wing plane is where it is, and there's all kinds of different hauls that people can do, and they've got that reverse swan neck now. Well, the Valkyrie has a fixed rear wing section. There's no movement there. It's underneath the front of the car where they have almost like a single-seater wing. You can't quite see it because of the bodywork, but that's what they're using, and with the rake of the car is the other part of that adjustment.
Yeah, cast your mind back to the late 1970s when ground effects came into Formula One, and that was a part of the world, part of the territory of a car people didn't know anything about, and Lotus kept it secret very much, almost for a whole season before the others worked out what they were doing. Other people came good, but really in terms of sports car racing, I mean, Aston Martin are taking us to another level. Okay, this is decades later, but for me, always been fond of Aston Martins, but I tell you what, even if it had no badge on the nose, the noise that Valkyrie makes, but go and look at it if ever you have a chance. It's doing something really, really differently. Different doesn't always work, but every now and again it does. But that, as John was talking about, look under the front of the car and try and get your head around that, and then just think, why didn't I pay attention in physics lessons? So you could possibly understand what that black art of undercar aerodynamics can do for you.
If you stand about where either of the doors are and crouch a little bit and look forward, what you're seeing is the front end of a single-seater, Peter, that looks like that somebody's just thrown a sheet over it, and where it lands is where the bodywork is. It's it's a work of art, never mind a racing car.
A lot of sports prototypes have been like that over the years. I mean, in the midway, we've got a display from every manufacturer that's involved in IMSA. And Acura have got a display with some of their cars from the American Le Mans series in the late 2000s, the ARX01, which is an incredible piece of aerodynamic design done by a guy called Nick Worth. But if you take all the bodywork of that off, it's a single-seater underneath. The Porsche that it raced against at the time, the RS Spider, was exactly the same. As soon as you took the front off, it looked like an F3 car underneath. So that's what they do. They have this, effectively, a single-seater car with some panels over the top.
International Motorsports Association, IMSA, WeatherTech Sports Car Championship, the Rolex 24 at Daytona. We have got about 54 minutes still to go in this opening session of the big opening for the International Endurance Racing Series. And international, I've said it now 3 times, is the word of the week. We have drivers from all over the world, indeed from the other side of the world. Chaz Mostert proving his GT3 and driving credentials, having just won the Repco Supercar Championship. He's with Arjuna now.
Recently became a champion down under, but Chaz Mostert returns to the Rolex for the first time since you won this race in 2020. Some good memories here, I'm assuming.
Yeah, it's racing Daytona 24 hours, something pretty special for me, to be an Australian, to have the opportunity to come over here. Race a couple of years with BMW in 19 and 20, win it in 20 in GT Le Mans blew my expectations, but so grateful for Kenny Abull here to get me back here this year. I've always loved racing with Kenny. We love our little Australian car theme, even though Maro's kind of an honourable Australian, we're calling him. So, yeah, really looking excited for the weekend. Got my family here too, which is special. So, yeah, ready to go.
Enjoy the weekend.
Thank you very much.
Dex Cadillac. Now, if I say Ricky Taylor, Philippe Albuquerque, the other man is Will Stevens, and you're with me right now. Well, fabulous to be here in Daytona. First of all, how has your whole programme and planning for this event gone so far?
I think, honestly, pretty good. I mean, obviously, coming from the Raw, I think most people's tick list is what we want to try and check off, which we did. We had a good few days off to try and analyse everything and make some good decisions coming into race week, which we think we've done. But these next few sessions, I think, are pretty critical to get the car in the place we want it for the race.
And now we're at the weekend. What do you do in between, though? Is it a bit of golf? Is it a bit of paddle? Or is it just down to the beach and be cool?
I did manage to get some golf in, which was nice. Obviously, a bit chilly still. I was hoping for some better weather for that. But I've got a few friends in Orlando, so I managed to pick up some golf for a few days, which was nice. And then back to it yesterday.
Okay, we know how important this Rolex race is. It's a big one. It's like you almost start the WeatherTech Championship with one of the biggest races of the year. What are you guys like? Where do you think you sit in amongst everybody else? Because everybody maybe sandbags just a little bit on long distance runs. Where do you guys sit?
I think, as you said, it's super hard to know. Obviously, everyone's trying to save tyres for the race as well from the Raw. So you're generally doing a lot of your testing on older tyres as well. So it's honestly super difficult to know. I would say we're just generally pretty happy with where we feel. And I think we just try and maximise what we know we have. And then hopefully come qualifying in the race, we're up the sharp end. But I think we've worked for everything methodically so far. Just keep making good decisions, and then hopefully we should be up the front.
I've got to say, I think you look fantastic in your HRX Dex Cadillac suit there.
It's good. Obviously, HRX is what we've been using in WEC from last year, and we're using it over here in IMSA. So the product's really good, and happy with what we got.
Lovely stuff.
Thanks, mate. Cheers.
So we're now down to about 5 minutes away from half distance. We'll do a little shuffle in the pit lane in a wee moment, but let's take a look at the times. We'll start with the GTs again, and it's still that time in GTD for Van der Ster Racing in the Aston Martin Vantage. Sebastian Bowe now behind the wheel of the number 19 car. James Collado's taking over the 033 Triazzi Ferrari in second, and that's a pro car, but of course the cars are identical in terms of their performance potential, and kind of backing that up is the AF Corsa USA Ferrari 296 as a GTD entry, with Simon Mann behind the wheel, just coming into the pits actually in front of us, that red, white and green car, following in one of the LMP2s, that's the Johnny Edgar driven machine coming into the pit lane. Then we've got the first of the Bronze Cup runners, John Potter, who also had a good Raw, to be very honest. He had a very good run indeed, ahead of Fred Scharndorf in another one of the bronze cars. So that's Aston Martin and Ferrari there, and that's taken us down to the top 6 in the GTD or GTD Pro category. Seb Prior for Ford Racing is second in the GTD Pro in that revised Mustang. In LMP2, it is into Europol in the pits serving their penalty at the moment. Kuba Smerkovsky in that car. In fact, just got out in the 343. Two-tone swap sides paint job, as it were, of green and yellow. George Kurtz in the CrowdStrike Racing Orica is in second place. Manuel Espiritu Santo for Pratt Miller Motorsport in third in the 73. These are all Oricas, of course, all split by a 10th here and a 10th there. Hunter McElray for United Autosport. Ollie Jarvis for Intersport Racing in the number 37, and Rasmus Lind makes up the top 6 for the second of the United cars, the number 22. And at the top of the shop, it's the Vantour family outing for Porsche and BMW. Lawrence and the number 6 Porsche Penske Motorsport with a 1:35.5.
That's the extra time.
That is the extra time. Dries Vantour with the BMW M Hybrid V8 in second, 2 3/4 tenths further back. Then the 2 Acuras, which is the number 93 from the 60 Renger, and in fact, just dropping in there. So we were talking about that. Up into third, Felipe Nasr, who was brilliant on stage last night at one Daytona. Thank you to everybody who turned out. So now Porsche number 6, BMW number 24, Porsche number 7, Acura number 93, the 60 Acura in 5th, and the first of the Cadillacs is the now Jack Aitken driven Whelen 31 machine, and that top 6 separated by a little over half a second. Right, we've had a changeover down in the pits lane, and I'm going to tip my life in my hands there because it was very loud when who was on Pack 2 said hello to me. But I think we can say hello for the first time on Radio Show Limited to Neil Cole. Is that you on Pack 2, Neil? Oh, maybe not. Well, I'll wait for those guys to come back.
Receiving loud and clear.
Hello, Neil, and welcome to the broadcast. How long is it since you and I and Bruce worked together on the Race of Champions?
Probably about 10 years, minimum.
Minimum.
Welcome to Daytona. Your first impressions?
I think it's all goosebumps at the moment. I'm currently walking along the back of pit lane, just getting my bearings, finding my feet. Oh, there they are. They're on the end of my legs. I'm trying to make my way to Porsche Penske Motorsports, which is at the very far end, obviously. But I'm just enjoying the sunshine, and this is a bucket list moment for me to be here, so thanks for bringing me, and I hope I add something to the team.
I'm sure you will, mate. Enjoy, and welcome to IMSA Radio. We'll introduce the final member of our team in a few moments' time. Look at the quality, Bruce. Those drivers, those teams that I've mentioned in that little rundown just there, I mean, would grace any of the classes top 6 would grace any series in the world.
100%. And I think what you have to realise when you go across the years is, just looking back, doing my number crunching before coming here, there have been years when the strength of this field has not been a scintilla of what it is now, but it's a great event. But the standards now, we just have to take what's in front of us, and it's a fantastic array. But you touched on it, you used the word international 3 times in the space of about 5 words earlier. It's precisely that. And in fact, you look through the commentary team, full international spread, actually quite a lot of Brits this year. But thank goodness we've got Ryan Marine joining us in the box to keep things normal, keep things local. But, it's international everywhere. Ryan's just stepping in for Peter Mackay. This is your patch. You've been here first and foremost as a child watching a Daytona, but then here as a journalist for many years before you crossed the dark divide and came to get a microphone in front of you.
Exactly so. 2017 was the first year here with Sports Car 365 and did that for about a half a decade. And then it was a bit of a layoff and didn't make it back until last year. And it was a thrilling opportunity to jump in with you folks a year ago, and excited for a brand new season to get started.
You, of course, saw... Oh, very loud in my own ears there for a moment. You, of course, were here for the Raw. 2 days of testing, really. No bearing on this week. These practice sessions, should it all go very, very wrong, and we hope it doesn't, but should it all go very, very well and we don't get qualifying, these practice sessions would potentially, can all, as official practice sessions, be used to set a grid. As we don't have a championship positions to do that at the moment. Last weekend was basically a big open test, which most people came, brought at least 1 car per team. How much store can we put in what we saw there?
It's a good question. I think that's the question everybody is asking down in the paddock. And if you were on the slower end of the spectrum, you would hope not very much. And if you were quick last week, then you'd probably hope that it is a sign of things to come. To be honest, I think we can read certain things into it. We talked yesterday on Midweek Motorsport about in GTD Pro specifically something like 50 or 48 of the drivers that set times were within a second of one another. I mean, it was amazing, the level of parity, and we saw that throughout the different classes. I think it was interesting, too, to see some of the new cars, the updated cars or the brand new cars run for the first time. And as John alluded to earlier, I think the biggest storyline maybe was the fact that the previous generation 963 in the hands of JDC Miller was right there with the factory cars consistently, in fact, topped them in some instances. And the 963 really looked strong across 3 days of testing.
We'll develop that in a moment or two's time. Good afternoon to Sarah Rigby up in Crewe in the northwest of England. She's taken a couple of days off and she'll be supporting Aston Martin. Let's head down to Porsche Penske Motorsport. Lauren Heinrich, the newest of the Porsche 963 prototype drivers, is standing by to talk to our Neil Cole.
Yes, Lauren, what it was like to do your first stint here in practice and to be in the number 7 Porsche Penske car.
Yeah, it's a huge honor, to be part of such a huge operation like Porsche Penske Motorsport, and to be finally back on track after 3 days off, basically. It feels amazing. It was the first time for me on the medium tire, so good experience there. I'm still learning every lap, being a rookie to GTP, but it's a lot of fun. It's a huge challenge for sure, but I've got the best team around me, to bring me up to speed.
I've got, tell us about the difference between this car and the GT car, and also, because I'm a rookie at Daytona as well, what it's like to actually race this famous circuit.
I mean, the most notable difference straight out of the box is the power. I mean, we're significantly quicker on the straight and through the banking, which is a nice feeling. I had goosebumps doing that for the first time. The car's a lot more complex, which is quite difficult for a new driver like me to learn all the systems, but I'm getting there. And one thing I really like is that we don't have ABS, it brings me back to my Porsche Carrera Cup days and Super Cup days. It just challenges the driver a little bit more, which I really like.
And talk about how much you're working, how well you're working with your experienced teammates. Talk us through your teammates in this car.
Yeah, having Julian and especially Felipe, who has won this race the last 2 years back-to-back, is a huge benefit for me, These two guys, they know exactly what they are doing, and they are super supportive. They welcome me amazingly to the new team, and I think we work together all pretty well for sure. I can learn a lot from them, but they are extremely supportive, and I'm not afraid to ask any question.
Me too. Thank you very much, and good luck.
Thank you.
Excellent stuff, Neil Cole and Lauren Heinrich, who richly deserves the opportunity that he's been given by Porsche, following a fairly well-trodden path from GT drivers recently, in relatively recent times, even going back to the 919, Bruce.
Yeah, I mean, one of the features of the past 10 years or so in endurance and GT racing is the prevalence, the standard of drivers in GT racing rose and rose, and they were promoted almost en masse when we had manufacturers entering teams rather than just privateers, up to the top step, up to GTP, and particularly in the World Endurance Championship, up to the hypercar class. I think it's great. And a lot of these drivers, they started out hoping to make a career in single-seaters. We know that's a very, very sharp-pointed pyramid in that one. But they've had to learn how to race with teammates, and I am so delighted for them. But they all know, a lot of them are works drivers, and what happens if your manufacturer goes tired? Suddenly, so it is a time of risk. But Lauren Heinrich is someone who's just moved up at double pace. And every challenge that's put in front of him, he not only matches what's expected of him, but he goes beyond. One thing I just want to bring in, John, totally different point, looking down from our fantastic, stunning commentary position. I'm looking down at BMW WRT team. One car in the pit garage at the moment on the apron. That's the car that's third fastest, Dries van Tor. But the sister car has only done 5 laps. It's not to be seen, and it hasn't put a flying lap in. So I can only presume that Neil Cole and Peter Snowden, who'll be the 4th member of the pit crew team, might have to walk back to the garage area to find out what's up with that one. So there's a little task for you, either of you. Pull straw, take straws.
Yeah, and the good news is, thanks to BSI, our technical partners again this season, we can actually stretch all the way back to the pit lane area. With 40 minutes to go, I'm sort of loath to say this, but I'm going to say it. we have had 59 cars have set a flying lap, and a relatively competitive one at that. The odd BMW out is that car. Kevin Magnussen has gone across the timing line 5 times, as Bruce Jones rightly says, but has not had a proper lap time. I'm looking at that now, and the sector times, I'm not even sure he has actually done a full lap. There's something clearly not quite right with the information that I've got there. Here's our first penalty of 2026 for contact out on the circuit, and this was a coming together of 2 cars. And let me just scroll through and work out who it was. Drive-through penalty has been assessed, Ryan, for which of the 2 cars?
Number 18, so that is Era Motorsport. It's Naveen Rao driving at the moment, who is assessed for hitting, was it the 80?
Correct.
And
that's the Lone Star Racing Mercedes.
That's right.
Scott Andrews' car, yeah. Which is still running. Scott at the moment behind the wheel of that car, 17th in the GTD class. So that'll just be a drive-through. Good opportunity for race control to exert their authority as well, gentlemen, here, and just set out the ground rules, if you will.
And I had a chat with Bo Barfield last weekend at the Roar Before the 24. He's very generous with his time, the race director for the WeatherTech Championship, to go through some of the changes since last year. And you'll remember that after Road America last year, the way that races and practices, for that matter, were officiated, it changed dramatically. They became a lot more strict, trying to cut down on some of the incidents that we had seen earlier in the season. One point of emphasis Bo talked about, though, that is slightly different from last year to this year, is how they're going to adjudicate moving in reaction. Often we talk about moving in reaction when it comes to blocking. It's going to be less cut and dry this year. There is going to be some nuance to it, where if you move in reaction but still there is room for the overtaking car and there's no contact, you're likely to get away with that movement. However, if you move in reaction and force contact or force the car off the road, that's when a penalty is going to be more likely. So a little bit of nuance to a rule that's been long-standing in IMSA.
I think that's a really good call because, rules are written in black and white. There are shades in between. Some, cause and effect is something that can come into that too. But this penalty for incident responsibility, okay? Car 18, Navarro, he already had a spin early on. He already had a lockup right in front of Renger van der Zande. So I think just a little word in his ear, back it off a little bit. This is practice. Qualifying coming up, and of course that small matter of 24 hours from Saturday to Sunday. But I really admire, and over the course of the decades I've been playing in this game, really good, imaginative officialdom, but also the ability to communicate that clearly to all the teams and all the drivers. But yes, and I think that's a really positive move, Ryan.
And there has been a considerable amount of dialogue from race control to the paddock at large, really since that philosophy change came into place. A lot of people wondered, well, how can you make such a big shift mid-season? And Bo said, I really did not want to have to do that. That is the antithesis of how I would prefer to officiate. But they were at a point where they felt like something needed to be done.
Yeah, but that's all good. Nothing stays like that's forever. But wind it back 30 years ago, they couldn't have had that instant communication with the teams and likewise the teams to the drivers. Yep. Whereas before, eventually you got a message, you go, where's that from? That came from the other side of the sun. But no, you've got to move with the tools you've got. And also, just we keep saying about the rising standard in the field, that they probably don't have to deal with so much accidental poor driving. And so you interpret the rules accordingly.
Underneath the Florida sun at the moment, the livery's really popping. And the first of what I'm sure will be many thanks from us here in the Ford Racing Global Broadcast Centre to our colleagues up at Concord and NASCAR Productions, who cut the feed for us so that we can see the parts of the track that perhaps are slightly less obvious to us, but particular thank you to all of our camera operators, because it's a long week for them under a variety of weather conditions, and all the techs and the ADs, everybody who's been running fibre this week. Thank you very, very much indeed. And last but by no means least, to Tim Gray, our executive producer in the Video Show Limited hub in South London, who's on duty today and for tomorrow as well, making sure that the audio gets to Sirius XM rather, and of course to the world, and we'll archive everything as we go along. Hello to Brian, listening in from Rosewood, Kentucky. Hearing your voice again from Daytona makes me smile. There's a storm coming here, but hoping that I'll keep the power up all the way through the weekend to follow along. We wish everyone good luck. Quite a large swathe of the United States in some kind of threat of snow, hail, and possibly even ice storms this next few days. So hunker down if you need to, good people, and let's hope you keep your power up and we can bring you a little bit of this Florida sunshine. And Tom Davies is in Farnborough in the UK, aeronautical hub in the south. Looking forward to the coverage. A question to take in the weekend: has there been much talk from the teams on the changes to setup, stint length, driving capabilities on the new Michelin tyres, and can they extend the stint? It's a very good question, and we will absolutely follow that up over the weekend. Well, let's go back down to the pit lane. Bruce set our pit lane team a little quest to find out what was going on with the number 25 BMW. Kevin Magnussen has been out in it, but not very much. Neil Cole has caught up with the Great Dane.
Yes, Kevin Magnussen, not much running for the car. Tell us what's going on with it and how much it's affecting your run plan.
Not quite sure, but I think it's some hybrid issue. But they're looking at it now, trying to get the car back on track before the session, before the time runs out, and then we'll see.
And apart from that, obviously, hopefully the hybrid issue will just be a hiccup and you can get back up to speed. How's it looking out there? How is it feeling to be back at Daytona?
Yeah, it feels great. You know, we're excited for the weekend, for the race. It's a long preparation here, so we've learned a lot, and you know, I think we feel pretty good for the race. I think, you know, it's always difficult to know where you stand and how competitive you are until you really get started in the race. But yeah, we feel decent.
Good luck. Thank you, Kevin. Thanks for explaining. And as we were here, René Rast just walked past with his seat, so I think he'll be getting in the other car soon.
Let's join Peter Snowden. Snowy, no stranger to RSL, but the first time on the broadcast here at Daytona. But not your first time here, Peter. You've raced here before, won a few years ago. I think the only person who's raced here on our team this year.
You're very kind, John. I think the photographs are not just black and white, but probably sepia now. It's that long ago. But of more current superstars, and they're all superstars out there, but I'm going to stand with the superstar here now because I'm going to embarrass him. Harry King, you're with first time stateside, so obviously your first time at Daytona with AO Racing. What's the purpose of today's session for us, for your point of view?
So firstly, it's amazing to be here. Full season of IMSA, starting up. Ultimately, one of the biggest jewels of the crown in Daytona 24. The purpose of free practice 1 is to really finalise and dial in the car ahead of qualifying later this afternoon. Then we have an FP2, which is otherwise named as night practice. So ideally, we're prioritising the driver who will be qualifying in a couple of hours' time. We want to make sure they're most comfortable in the car to optimise our qualifying performance. The further forward you can start in a 24-hour race, the better. It's not the be-all, the end-all, but it definitely pushes you out of trouble.
You've done a handful of laps today already?
Yeah, a couple of laps.
So what's your first impression of, Daytona 24-hour race? 24. What a series! What a circuit, Daytona.
It's utterly wild, to be honest. I expected great things from this place, but to really go out there on my first few laps in the Raw last week and experience it, just how steep the banking really was.
That's what I was going to ask you. I mean, you in the UK, people know you really well from your Porsche Carrera Cup days back in Kobe 2020, when you you just owned it basically. But as a driver, you're still passionate. I can see it in your eyes still. But when the first time you see the banking, what goes through your mind? Remember, it's a family show.
Yeah, I mean, I still love every second of the sport, even the highs and the lows. But coming here, it's like a new lease of life. There's only so much racing you can do back home, but the circuit stateside are unlike anywhere else. But also the organisation of IMSA, what John Doonan has managed to do with the series, it's so cool, and I'm loving every moment of it.
So it's quite. I think we do a little podcast, shouldn't we, from Donington to Daytona?
Certainly so, yeah, one of the highlights. Even though it's got very few corners, it makes up for it in everything else, so loving every moment.
Harry, thank you for your time. We'll talk to you more over the weekend. Thanks very much, mate.
Very highly thought of is Harry Kane in Weissach and Stuttgart, Porsche. With a long history, Bruce, and you and I have seen a lot of them go on to great things, a long history of taking drivers under their arms. We've got a couple of Antipodeans that Porsche Carrera Cup North America have just announced as their selected drivers. Is Porsche, in terms of endurance racing, is Porsche the F1 Ferrari style thing that people aspire to as a young driver?
I think so, on the basis that they've had a junior driver program for ever and a day. In fact, the German manufacturers, BMW, theirs goes back even further. But cut endurance racing in half. What runs up its backbone? It's Porsche. They started small in the early 50s and gradually, moved up from the 356 to the 550, Le Mans 718. Then they really started to get that car that's slightly famous, the 911 on the track. And then suddenly they were galloping forward with the 917. That is history through and through. If you can get on their books, but just listening to Harry's interview there wasn't a wasted word. His eloquence on his first performance here, his understanding of IMSA, and to immediately know to give credit to John Doonan for all he does. From the outside it might sound idle. It's not. That's considered. He's seeing the bigger picture, and these are the ones that tend to go on to be the greats. They could have similar driver capabilities to rivals, but if you can do those other things, you just find in top-level sport, any sport, it's the small margins, and I think Harry's one of the drivers who should find those margins and proceed from there. I could be wrong, but I certainly don't think I will be.
It's important everywhere now, Ryan, but always in the States. The ability of a driver to perform out of the car in front of the cameras is probably, the States really set the tone, even going back several decades, for what we see now is a very high standard around the world.
I would agree with that. The way that drivers are brought up from a young age to perform in front of the camera, to give the pithy quote to the print journalist, whatever the case may be, but at the end of the day, represent the brand on their shirt, which is more important, I would suggest, in sports car racing than any other form of the sport, because you're representing a big manufacturer and then, by extension, all of their partners. And clearly Porsche believes that Harry is the total package. He was promoted to Porsche driver status. That's one rung below the full-fledged factory driver, but that was back in November that was announced. A year ago, class champion in GT World Challenge Europe Endurance Cup, won the Gold Cup Championship driving for some guy named Max Verstappen. You might have heard of him. Won the 24 Hours of Spa in class, and he's also a class winner at Bathurst if you go back to 2024, plus everything he did on the way up to GT3 racing. This does appear to be a star of the future, if not the present.
Exactly, a star of the now, I would call it.
You mentioned BMW, AMG, Mercedes have done it. Ford have just renamed and expanded their young driver program in sports car racing. Let's just remind ourselves, Bruce, within our working lifetime, top class sports car racing used to be Le Mans and Daytona. Now we have multiple series around the world. It also used to be a place, I think unkindly, that people were saying, well, that's where you go when your proper racing career has finished. No longer the case. Young drivers are saying to me, when I see them with Joe and Nick, Joe and Nick this weekend are at the Dubai Autodrome kart circuit for their championship meeting, the O-Plate meeting of the UAE. And some of those drivers that we've talked to in the UK and in Europe, they say, no, not single seaters for me. I want to go to Le Mans. I want to go to Daytona. I want to go to Sebring. It's a complete change mentality.
Entirely so. I'm just going to go back, if you will allow me this indulgence, back to the mid-70s. The Ford effective junior team back then had a couple of drivers of talent. One was called Jackie Stewart. Never worked out what happened with him. But the difference was, John, they would place them, racing Cologne Capris against the CSL BMWs around the Nürburgring and the European circuits. But they'd also be in Formula One at the same time. That is a different day. Correct. We can have this argument till the cows come home, but effectively now money talks more than talent getting to Formula One. The field has expanded to 22 cars this year rather than 20, but it's a very fine point. But more to the point, people are being realistic enough to realise the money you need to get through the levels to get to Formula One is beyond the best. And the best drivers now go, how can I still have a career in this? And sports car racing is the place to be. And that's why we have drivers coming here at 16 or 17 years old. Correct. It seems extraordinary.
Correct. And with the amount of manufacturer interest that IMSA, the World Endurance Championship, the variety of GT. I mean, how many GT3 manufacturers are there now? It's ramping up again. The opportunity for paid employment has never been better in sports cars. Let's give some of those who are out there their due as we'll check the times for you. And it is still, in fact, it's a 1-2 now for Porsche Penske Motorsport in the early running. They were pretty decent in the Raw as well. A 35-5 for the number 6 Lawrence Vanthoor driven car at the moment. In the pit, Felipe Nasr at the moment with a 35-5-3-4. Goodness me, that is tight. Then another half a tenth further back is Philippe Albuquerque in the Cadillac. And then a BMW hybrid V8. And that's the 24 car of Dries Vanthoor. It's still into Europol from CrowdStrike, from Pat Miller, from United, from Intersport, from United in LMP2. And the GTD has pretty much stayed the same. Inception Racing, no, that's the same. They've stayed the same as we gave them to you early on, with a mix of GTDs and GT depots. So I would say that Lilou Wadu is out now in the AF Corsa number 21. Time to head back to the pit lane and to Neil Cole, who can bring us more of the atmosphere and some of the insight from those who have been out on track recently.
Yes, down here, the number 60 Acura Meyer-Shank racing car. Colin, how was the stint? Tom's staying in the car now. Talk us through how it's all going.
Yeah, I think it's going well. Obviously, I think we're quick. I mean, who knows? Everyone's working different plans and getting ready for the race. But, so far, I think our Acura HRC car is in a good window. Last week was a bit odd with the temperatures and everyone kind of burning up the soft tires. So here's maybe a bit more representative of what we're looking at. But, for a lot of guys, it's kind of the first real runs they've had on mediums this year. So, but yeah, I think we're in good shape. And obviously, one lap pace is a lot different than stint pace. But, I know we're working on it.
Tell us how those new tires are feeling. What's different about them? How are they working?
Yeah, I would say it's a nice step. I mean, the warm-up is definitely better. I think Michelin's done a really nice job on making a nice step. We're not exactly sure what the deck's going to look like in a race. Obviously, seems like it's still fairly good on kind of our own running when we were in November looking at a stint. But, it's a lot different when you're chilling on your own doing a long run than when you've got all the cars racing. So we'll see what it looks like when we get going, but so far, a nice step.
And just for us as a racing fan and racing fans watching and listening around the world, what does it mean to race Daytona?
Yeah, I mean, it's mega, right? I mean, it's a place I've been coming to every year since I've been 16. I think this is going to be my 22nd consecutive start. So, yeah, it's a special place, cool spot, even better to win the race, obviously. And I've been fortunate enough to do it a handful of times and know that you want to come here and win. And I know coming here, it's special, it's great, but at the same time, when you leave and you don't win, it's a bit of a pit in your stomach feeling for sure.
And just quickly, just sum up how it works. Talk us through your teammates, the co-drivers, how it works as a team between you, your strengths.
Yeah, I mean, obviously it's me and Tom for the full season, and then we've got Scott Dixon with us for the long races, and then AJ Allmendinger's in for the 24 here. So, yeah, a really good group. Scott, myself, and Tom all ran together last year, so we've got a good rapport, and AJ kind of fills right in, right? He's a blast, super fun. I'm glad to have a little bit more America, I guess, on the squad anyway. So it's good. We're a little bit more evened out, you know. Two Euro guys and 2 Americans. It feels a little more fair.
Obviously, I've been talking to you while it's happening, but the cars come back in again. Do you know what's going on? Is it all planned stuff?
Yeah, all planned. We wanted to get the guys a bit of time to get the cars to work and go through their things they need to do. And honestly, I think we're all a bit limited on the tires anyway, so we thought, hey, let's give them a chance to get ready for qualifying and get going.
Go for it. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Appreciate it.
18 minutes, 12 seconds to go here in this practice session. Qualifying coming up later on today. It is still the 60 of Meyer-Shank Racing. Tom Blomqvist with the fastest time of the session, ahead of the 2 Porsches from Porsche Penske, the 6 from the 7, and then the 10, the best of the Cadillacs from Wayne Taylor Racing. Philippe Albuquerque behind the wheel. That's the top 4 in GTP. Super tight as well in LMP2, same in GTD Pro, in GTD. Bruce, anywhere you look, it's hard to pick a favorite amongst these classes. Each of them have something to offer, and in many cases more than just a single something, but lots of drama up and down the entry list, no matter where you look.
Well, no, 100%, Ryan, but I think also by dint of lots of running over the course of Raw, it's not so essential for everyone to nail every possible lap on the track. I've been looking up and down the timesheets, and right opposite our commentary box, in fact, he's just gone back out of the circuit, the RLL McLaren, get used to team changes, manufacturing machines. That hasn't run a lot of laps yet, but who knows what their program is. But as you said, 18 minutes or so remaining, so they've got time of plenty to go out and put it all together. But what are they thinking of? What's next? Just after 2 o'clock this afternoon, qualifying. Quite important, I'd say.
Certainly so. That team fascinating with their driver lineup. Max Esterson, Nikita Johnston, they're in for the season. Yuri Vips, XF2 driver. He's their endurance driver, and then Dean McDonald, who brings the McLaren experience to the table. None of them have ever done the Rolex 24 before. Outside of Dean, the other 3 have a combined 1 sports car start, and that was Esterson at Petit Le Mans last year, and that was in a GTP car. So it's a lot of new, the team with the new car as well.
It was a pretty decent outing.
Oh, and he was very good. Yeah, no question about it. He was phenomenal on debut. I think John Church and JDC wished they could have held on to it.
Kept hold of him, yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, because he was really strong in that. But for this team, new car, bunch of drivers who aren't used to doing this race or racing in IMSA, this is a real challenge for them in year 1, race 1.
Absolutely. One thing that's not a challenge, it's one of the most identifiable cars in the field. It's only got 2 colours on it. Orange and black up the middle. Orange on the flanks from nose to tail, and the black up the hood, over the roof. Great, sort of McLaren-y colours, but I just like it because of how easy it is to pick out. Let's hope we can see it move up the charts.
Bright orange and gloss black, sort of eschewing the satin or the flat colours that have been so popular nowadays. But I think it works particularly well, Ryan, on the shape of the car. And actually, Andy Blackmore, who does so much in terms of liveries, and is, of course, the producer, the designer, the drawing talent behind the IMSA spotter guides as well. He always says you've got to work with what you're given on there and work in the sponsor panels and things like that. Sometimes that isn't obvious. I think that really works on that car, Ryan.
It is clean. It is sharp. There's no question that it's a McLaren with the papaya orange. It does its job.
It does, but you know what? The most interesting thing is if you get 2 cars that are identical, bar their liveries, they can look almost entirely different in shape. And I think the very swoopy, I know it's an overused word, lines of that McLaren, they really, really are picked out by that black gloss middle part. So, just another fantastic job. But, isn't it great? We can talk about the level of presentation of these cars as well. And you see things one way, then you walk up close. I was saying as we walked out after breakfast, looking at the Wright Motorsport car with all the circuits they race on knitted into their famous dark green and yellow livery.
Time to go back down to the pit lane with just under a quarter of an hour still to go. 20 minutes past 11 here at Daytona. Welcome back to Peter Snowden with a good friend of us here on IMSA Radio and for IMSA competition. John Field back with us in 2026. Great news.
John, welcome back. It's good to have a homegrown hero in the race. We've had talking to a guy a few minutes ago, Harry King, his first ever time here.
Yeah.
Complete opposite for you. This is your backyard, isn't it?
Yeah, no, this is great. You know, we love Daytona to start the year. It's an amazing track, a lot of heritage, great drivers here. So we're excited to be back.
You look like you just had you've either poured some water over your head or you had a few laps in the car.
Well, I do that before I get in. It helps me cool down, but I sweat a lot. But no, it's track's really getting slower. It's really hot out there. You know, traffic's pretty chaotic. It's a good session to see what's going to happen in the race. So, yeah, Ollie put a quick lap down, so I think the car's okay. So, yeah, you just do laps around here, and then they fight at the end.
Well, you and the team, Intersport, are vastly experienced. You just mentioned it's already really hot, and we're only, 11 o'clock in the morning, and the forecast, I was looking this morning on the television here, that it's due to get really hot until we've gone, basically. So that obviously is some consideration in your thinking now. So it must be just data gathering today?
Yeah, for sure. At the test, we had cold, hot together, and the car was amazing on the cold, but our engineers are saying, hey, we got to be able to race at the end when it's hot. So they've made quite a few adjustments to counter for that. And the car will be obviously very good at night. Everybody's will be pretty good. So, I know my job. Keep it safe, hand it over, and then watch the two guys race and have a lot of fun doing that.
John, thank you very much. We'll talk to you a lot more over the weekend. There's a lot of time yet to talk to you. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Down at the Le Mans chicane, Manny Franco for Conquest, sporting some new colours, that Ferrari in a light blue and white are the base colours. Just had to bail out of the middle part of the chicane there with a P2 car tight on the left-hand side.
And then had a close call leaving the tire chicane that's set up to make sure you can't gain any advantage if you happen to miss the actual racetrack. Very nearly rubbed the right side of that car against the outside retaining wall. We can say with confidence he didn't, because if you do that with one of these Ferraris, they typically lose the wing mirror. Those things on this 296 have a penchant for falling off the car. He was able to keep his intact, so I think he was able, by the skin of his teeth, to avoid rubbing up against that outside wall, but that was a close call on a couple of occasions, all in one corner.
Yeah, and I think obviously Manny's done his racing here before, but anybody new to Daytona and the high-speed elements of the circuit, if you damage your bodywork, I think it's sort of wise to come in and have it checked out, because the last thing you want is the whole tail section of the car coming off as you're coming out of Speedway 4 onto the start-finish straight. So, with novices or Daytona or Super Speedway novices, that's more than a little bit of a word in their ear. But for those who've been here before, they understand.
Hello to all of you listening around the world and around the track. 107.5 FM for the weekend. Get it locked onto a car button in case you are going back to the RV or whatever. We'll be on Sirius XM as well. I think 2 or 3 this weekend is our channel number. That's what I put into the Hertz hire car. Nice Subaru Outback was waiting for me in President's Circle, and I picked that up on a Monday afternoon down in Miami. I have to say, a car that I haven't experienced before. But look, I've got a Porsche that's got a flat 6 engine. This one's got a flat 4, so I'm getting in there. Hello to Dave Alcock back in the UK, to Tom Marshallek, who's tuned in as well, to you, Jam Right. Hello, Jam. Fabulous spot to watch from, right at the dog leg on the infield, and tuned in as well with the scanner at IMSA Radio if you want to get in touch with us on the socials, and we'll keep an eye on that. It'll be very important when we get into the nighttime hours as well. And once again, we will be giving our NBC Sport TV colleagues their mandated 6 hours of beauty sleep. They've got cameras to deal with them. We don't. So from midnight till 6 during the race, we will be taking over NBC's broadcast. Let's Rooftop Ray Venzel we've already met him. We've said hello to him for this week as well, and be the mainstay. Let's get down to the pits again. Get down to the pit lane to Peter Snowden, who's standing by with some more
Well, we were talking about Intersport and different teams and homegrown, and we've got a team that we know that we cover from a radio show a lot, NLS, the Nürburgring Langstrecke here, Lamulna Motorsport, and they're doing a lot more stateside this year, they're hoping to, and I'm talking to their new hot protege, Ryan Yardley, all the way over from New Zealand, who's just been promoted to a Porsche Junior driver, Ryan.
Yeah, super exciting to join the Porsche family as a select driver here in North America, so yeah, super excited to start that relationship with Porsche in a more official way, and to be here this weekend at the Daytona 24 Hours is pretty special.
And is your first time here?
Yeah, my first time driving Daytona was last week at the Raw. First time driving the GT3R was last weekend at the Raw. First WeatherTech races this weekend, so a lot of firsts for me, and but yeah, super excited to be here, and I'm really looking forward to the challenge.
So on a scale of 1 to 10 or higher, what was the wow factor when you first went out onto the track at Daytona and saw that banking?
Yeah, it's weird. Obviously, when we look on TV and on photos, the banking obviously looks very, very steep, but it's once you're in the car, it almost feels quite natural. So, yeah, it's very different having the LMP2 and the LMDH cars come past you on the banking. So, yeah, lots of challenges ahead this weekend.
You've got to stay in lane, haven't you?
Yeah, exactly. Just stay out of trouble, stay low, and let the faster cars go on the outside. So, yeah, pretty cool sensation.
Ryan, thank you for your time. We look forward to talking to you more over the weekend. Ryan Yardley from Müller Motorsport.
Thank you, really appreciate it.
Yeah, Milner on site last weekend, just underlining what we were saying about this, how international sports car racing has expanded. Milner were running their classic blue, white and black colours at Dubai last weekend, the weekend before that at Abu Dhabi back in the last year. You know, I think this bringing together, Bruce, of the regulations in a variety of sports car classes. Interestingly, it was the top class that was last to be combined with the ACO and IMSA, and I still can't believe that that's actually happened in my lifetime, and I got to compare that press conference right here at Daytona a few years ago. But with GT4 and GT3, you've got a ladder after single manufacturer championships like Porsche Carrera Cup, etc., etc. A little bit of a wiggly moment for the BMW. The BMW that is circulating, which is René Rast in the number 24 car, still in recognisable sort of BMW sports colours. But in the same way as single seaters a few years ago, you would have said it was Formula Ford 2000, F3, F2, maybe F3000, F1. That's kind of been a little bit jumbled up a little bit now, whereas sports cars have gone the other way and taken the MotoGP line and said, here we are, this is where you go through. And that clear path actually comes back to what we were talking about younger drivers. They've got an idea of where to go. They don't have to have someone in the know necessarily. They've got to raise the funds, yes. But all of those things, like the platform video game, you are learning new skills as you go through those championships.
Yeah, I mean, in sports car racing, where there was confusion, now we have clarity, and it's quite the reverse in the international single-seater formula. Just if I may, going back to talking about drivers who get a works contract, we heard from Dean McDonald, who's tied in with McLaren. They could be placed anywhere in the world, because since GT3 is global now, and unfortunately we've got...
has just gone around at the International Horseshoe, and that's Ben Green, actually just called Autosport now.
Yeah.
It's the change of name for the number 13.
Was it not just called 13 Autosport?
Correct. 13 Autosport, yeah. Oh, which is car number 13. Matt Bell in that car as well.
It is still AWA running the team. They're the service provider, but Ori Fadani formed that new entity that was announced at the tail end of last year. Of course, reigning winners in class of this event.
Yeah, Matt Bell was in fine form last night at one Daytona, mainly because Newcastle United had beaten PSV Eindhoven in the European Champions League.
That would be for the fans of the football game, you
see.
The
little round thing.
The round things. If I could just, finish my point.
Absolutely.
The thing is about, you look at the drivers who've gone on to manufacturers' books, and they may not be racing in the championship. You're watching, you're suddenly going, oh, hold on a second. They've been put in GT World Challenge Asia to be alongside a gentleman driver, and they're running in this championship or the place in Europe. There's so many places they can race, and Peter Snowy and I do a lot of coverage for the Radio Show Limited network broadcasters for the Langstrecke series at the Nürburgring. And So you've got so many classes of cars, but still the top class is for GT3. Admittedly, they call it SP9, and you see so many different drivers, particularly in the early season, building up because they want to win the big one that's not around, but it's the Nürburgring 24. And if you do well there, that could be your calling card to get an event in the world, a season in the World Championship. It's a solid foundation now.
The last 2 weekends, which has started in the Middle East with the Michelin 24-hour series, 60 cars at Abu Dhabi for the 6 hours, of which more than half the field were GT3. 66 entered, 65 started at Dubai 24 hours, of which more than, almost exactly actually half of that were GT3 cars. And so, quite obviously, you are going to see some of these names crop up. But it does give the manufacturers, Ryan, and of course, you see it with other GT series here and in Europe that you work with as well, with SRO and those guys, all working to the same regulations. It gives the manufacturers to try out some of this young talent, maybe not in a full series, a full season in a single series, but to say, hey, how are you going to be in America? How are you going to be in the Middle East? How are you going to be in Australia at the Bathurst 12 hours, which comes up in a few weeks' time? And that opportunity just wouldn't have been there a few years ago.
Yeah, I think as much as we talk about this being the golden age from a prototype perspective, the fact that it is a global GT world mindset now with the GT3 regulations, GT4 regulations down in lower series, that has as much to do with the rising tide lifting all the boats of sports car racing right now. And you talk about the great series and great events that you can compete in. It makes being a GT driver so attractive. If you can make it as a factory driver, you can race at Bathurst, you can race at the Nürburgring, you can race at Le Mans, IMSA, 24 hours of Spa, all these great events. That makes that then a more appealing step, and then compounding that is the fact that manufacturers aren't shy about taking their GT drivers and putting them in prototypes. You don't get pigeonholed as just a GT driver anymore, which again has brought increased attention, increased talent into the pipeline, and we're all the better for it.
No, certainly. I mean, a handful of years ago, a works driver would have had maybe 6-8 events a year to do per year. Now, if you look at the passport stamps in the Maro Engels passport, Alessio Picariello, people like that, they're doing 30 events a year. But also, they're bringing other people up with them in terms of gentlemen come in, they bring their money, they get going. And look at Heart of Racing Team, how they've grown and grown and grown. The position they've got to, it is also really very handy to bring some money into the sport further down, rather than saying, this is a world championship, everything else, just nothing else exists. These are building blocks, but because it's got uniformity, that's what really has been the success.
107.9 around the circuit, around the world on RS2. Sirius XM kicking in for the race on Sunday, and of course we'll fire up the cameras for qualifying this afternoon, all available for you at no charge and with no interruption. Whether you're in the US or further afield. And a problem for Chris Cumming in the bright yellow fronted LMP2 number 73. That's the car that sits in third position in class at the moment for Pratt Miller. Has he had a contact with the wall? No, but he's peeled off onto the relatively newly paved area. Yeah, all of that was grass, not so very. I remember when all of that was field. And, very odd one there, but he's done a very solid job, peeled off coming out of two into the Le Mans chicane, staying off the racing line. Going to go down to the pits in just a second. The checkered flag is now out. That's what I was waiting for. Ricardo Vela is there waiting to talk to Neil Cole at Manthey Racing.
Yes, Ricardo, we saw Ralph get out of the car. We saw a couple of Ryan get out of the car. Some changeover there. What's the situation with the car and getting all the drivers behind the wheel?
Yeah, FP1, we're trying some stuff. I think we did good. We try some stuff that we had to try. We complete our plan, and then also we did a lot of driver change. So I think we are looking good for the next practice, and of course qualifying today. So let's see what will going on.
And just talk to how the car's feeling, how Daytona feels, and what's new for you this season.
Yeah, it's my first 24-hour Daytona. It's a bit different compared to Europe, let's say, but I really enjoy it, so looking forward to it.
Okay, good luck. Thank you.
Ryan, you've had a closer look now at the Pratt Miller number 73, the black and orange car, and it looks like Chris Cumming has done an absolutely cracking job there.
Right front puncture, it appears to be the problem, and you're exactly right. Chris, very patient getting that car back to the pits, and it's a good thing, too. A team that struggled in its first year of LMP2 last year, but they were very strong at the Roar, and that's continued over. Third fastest in this session. Great job not to make it the situation any worse, pick up any damage due to that puncture. He was able to get the car back in one piece, and that tire did not delaminate, which was really well done on Chris's part.
Let's take a look at the fastest times in each of the categories. It is Acura who sneaked back to the top there ahead of the two Porsches towards the end. So the new best lap was put in quite late on by Tom Blomqvist before that car went to the garage. And a 1:35.415 I've got on there. Yes, that's correct. Ahead of the two Porsches from Porsche Penske Motorsport, the 6 from the 7. Will Stevens finished the session in the driver's seat of the Cadillac number 10 for in Taylor. Philippe Albuquerque had put a fast lap in there, 35.561. That was Felipe's time. Then BMW number 24, its team car with issues, as described by Kevin Magnussen with the hybrid system. Top 6 made up by the Acura number 93, and that was being driven at the end by Renger van der Zande. So those top 6 separated by just 0.4 of a second. In LMP2, it was the 343 from Interpol who held sway by about half a second, and the 04 for CrowdStrike by APR in second place, Malte Jakobsen in second place, and then that Chris Cumming Pratt Miller number 73 in third. In GTD car, Carl Bennett finished the session in the 19 Aston. I think that was fastest all through the session from that early time that was set. And then we had the Ferrari number 296, the 033, that's the Triazzi car, in second position of the GTs, but obviously the best of the pro cars. The McLaren in third with the very McLaren number 59. So that's 2 GTD pros. Then a GTD in the hands of Antonio Fuoco. That was the number 21 Ferrari. That car put that time in fairly early on as well, the AF Corsa USA machine. The best of the Bronze Cup drivers was the Aston Martin Bronze entry, should I say, Aston Martin Vantage GT3, the number 44 car. John Potter put a really stonking time in early on. Madison Snow in the end, but a 46.462 against a 46.325. Tight as you like in the GT and GTD Pro there, split between those two classes, but obviously the drivers are the determinant factor there as to which class you are in rather than the car. Some final thoughts, Mr. Jones? You saw all of that. Relatively clean, certainly non-interrupted 90 minutes of running. And next we go qualifying. What have we learned, if anything?
What we've learned is what I expected to learn. It's very, very tight at the top. But you can say that in all 4 classes. Ryan mentioned that a moment ago. But, what a mix. And sitting here looking down, Acura, Porsche, Cadillac, BMW, Acura at the top. So great mix in the GTP class. For some reason, Orica are dominating LMP2 because, of course, all the cars are Orica 007s. But in behind, in both in GTD and GTD Pro, we've got that wonderful mixture of the great names of sports car racing, not just in terms of the manufacturers, the drivers too. So, yeah, all set. Didn't find anything untoward, I don't think.
What I noticed different from what we saw at the Raw, Ryan, and you saw it all, is Acura. That was a name that we actually had to remind ourselves to talk about on Midweek Motorsport, but Acura have come to life in race week, right when it matters.
As we discussed, it's not like they were miles away.
No.
They were
all within a second.
Right. They were 5th, 6th, 7th, whatever the case may be in those sessions, but they were within a 10th or 2 here or there of being up at the pointy end, and really we're about to find out. We're going to put all these questions to bed when we go qualifying. That's when we really see the outright single-lap pace come to the fore, and I would discount Meyershank Racing at your own peril.
Oh, Always, 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 always. Thank you, gentlemen. I'm in the Ford Racing Global Broadcast Centre. Our pit lane reporters easing themselves in as well. When we come back, we'll turn on the cameras. And whether you're here in the US or further afield, we've got live, free, uninterrupted coverage, no subscription required, 107.9 FM around the circuit and around the world on RS2. That is the home of IMSA Radio. I'm John Hindhaugh for the time being. We will sign off from the IMSA WeatherTech Sports Car Championship with a reminder we will have other series coverage between now and qualifying later this afternoon live from Daytona.
Well, thanks to the IMSA radio team for the practice coverage, as we have no TV pictures. We will, however, have them for qualifying. So if you want to have all the live timings open for qualifying, you know where to come here on JB Motorsports. And our commentary team will be standing by for qualifying and the entire Rolex 24 hours. And we've got a couple of special guests to come in. A whole team who, if you joined us last year, back with us again, it's going to be quite an exciting Rolex 24 for 2026. Okay, well, that concludes it then here for the first session. We will be back in a few hours' time as we will go ready for qualifying for the 64th running of the Daytona 24 Hours, sponsored by Rolex. We'll see you later from the Daytona International Speedway. Bye-bye for now.